hold it like this, I should be audible. I'm gonna have to really do a, oh, hang on. Really do a projection. Okay, hopefully this works. Those need to move because they are already frustrating me. How they're being placed on my screen. No, we're switching ears. And then we can, oh, turn this? No, wait, turn this way? Turn this way. No. Turn this way. Wait. I know how microphones work. There we go. Okay, hang on. This should work. I hope this works. Now, if we can go from here. Let's go into here. Let's not minimize Discord yet, because I need to share this. I don't have permissions to send messages in this channel. Oh no, wait, hang on, do I still have Okay, this is fine. Wait, this is fine. This is fine. Do I have it in promote thyself? I think I have it in promote thyself, yeah. Okay, and then I think that is everything I need. Close this, close this. Oh, I should probably open up like 5e tools. 5e tools is usually important. Okay. Oh, and let me shout at my kids as well. Alright, that's everything then. Aha! Alright, and we should be live. Yeah, there we go. Oh, why am I off center? Hang on. Center myself. There we go. Hi. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Nalise, also known as Valentine, and I hope that my audio is okay. I'm going to try and check that myself right now. But in the meantime, I figured I would talk a little bit about what's going on. So I have a D&D campaign most Sundays, sorry, at this exact time. This week we don't have a session because a couple of my players are busy and out of town, so we're skipping this week. And I'm going to use this time instead to plan for something that one of my players has ended up falling into. So, I've realized that you can see me trying to check my audio. Beautiful. This is fine. Don't even worry about it. So, I've realized that this is fine. Yeah, okay, this is fine. I'm just gonna hope the audio is working and chat can tell me if it's not. So, anyways, one of my players has ended up getting into a little bit of trouble with their character now being afflicted by. Thank you so much. Duck at the End of Life. I think if I'm reading that correctly. Thank you for the confirmation on audio. So one of my players has. Oh, let me see if I can actually boost that for you guys. Give me just 2 seconds, and I might be able to increase that a little bit. Is that any better, chat? I think I've boosted my audio just a little bit. If not, I can just start shouting. Perfect. It's good. Okay, cool. So, what's happened is I have a D&D game on Sundays, and it's usually at this exact time. This week, a couple of my players are gone, so we're not meeting. And in the last session, one of my players ended up taking quite a lot of max HP damage. Now, for those of you who are not super familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, if you have 0 max HP, you are dead. You don't make saving throws, you just die. So this is very severe. And if this effect, which is an effect that occurs every 24 hours based on rules as written, if this effect occurs again, this player character is in all likelihood dead in what would be the third session of a game, which is bad. So this week what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of think through this from the DM side, because this was not what the intention of the poison was, and see what we can do about it and plan about it. So, and I've realized that I'm still not centered in my camera. We're really trying today. So, what I ended up doing off camera a little bit is my player Sunny K is the player who has their character about to die. And one of the first things I like to do anytime I have a severe situation like this, where it's something unexpected or something that a player is like out of game concerned about, is I like to have a chat with them, talking about what happened in the past, what's happening in the present, what happens in the future. And unfortunately, Sunny K is one of the people who's gone today, or I would have had her on stream to talk with us. So instead, I have a impromptu interview that I did with Sunny K about the concept of her character dying. So Sunny K's character is Yuka. She is the Witch of the Woods, and she is a druid. Now, of course, the first thing I wanted to ask my player when anything like this goes down is, are you okay with what happened? So, luckily, and you guys can sort of read the transcript here if you want to read the transcript, I'm going to paraphrase more than anything. Yuka, Sunny K was okay with what happened. She said that she played the game she wanted to play, and she played Yuka the way she wanted to play Yuka. That said, she is not happy with the outcome of Yuka maybe dying, which is completely fair. So I then immediately asked, are you okay with not changing the past? And she was completely fine with that, which is great. That means that we don't have to think about anything retconning in the past or changing any of the effects of the poison or anything like that. We can fully focus on what am I doing next session to try and fix this, and what is the stuff afterwards. Past that, I of course asked if any boundaries were crossed. I fully recommend you do this if there is ever any big concern like this. And luckily, Sunny K said that she doesn't think there were any boundaries crossed. She's a bit concerned that it is a lot of damage for a low-level character to take, which she is correct, it is. And this is the one thing I am going to quote Sunny K on. She fucked around and she found out, and that's D&D. So, at the very least, my player sort of knows what's going on and what's coming. Past that, I asked a couple of different things, and there are some questions that were redacted from this blurb that I'm showing you that I will show maybe a little bit later, after like a heavy spoiler warning. But that would be later in the live stream if I do that. So I asked if there's anything that is unacceptable for me to do with Yuka, with her character. And the only sort of instructions that I was given for Yuka were Sunny K does not want her to die pitifully. Which is quite interesting, especially because Sunny K ended up saying she didn't want Yuka to die from like injury or illness, which I would consider poison and illness, so I'm gonna have to be really careful about that as we go into the next session. And again, this is why I like to ask these questions, because otherwise I would not have known that, and I might not have treated it as gently as I maybe should. Other than that, I, as a DM, and especially when I DM things like D&D or Call of Cthulhu, where there are risks of character death, I have very specific views on PC death, which is that it is never permanent. A lot of times, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, where there are resurrection spells and such like that, I really like to go under the rule set of like, if you die, you might be able to come back, but there will be a consequence for dying. Especially at lower levels, when you can't just cast your resurrection, I think that that's a really good way to do it, and it's something that served me well in the past. So I just reminded my player here of that, going like, hey, I tend to give characters a chance. And I was given some very, very specific instructions about that. And some of those are redacted here a little bit just because I don't want to give away everything that my player and I talked about in case you are watching the live streams. But we did end up having a conversation about the potential like Yuka post-death occurrences. And the one thing that we ended up very clearly communicating was that they as players would need to pursue one specific goal if they wanted that goal to occur. And I did get the okay with that from Sunny K, that she understands and she is okay with having that be the thing that's going on, which is really good to hear. Past that, I did ask if Sunny K, my dearest player, wanted to tell anything to stream. So these are Sunny K's direct words here. Sunny K really wants to keep playing as Yuka because the subclass is really cool and she spent a lot of time with planning and wanting to keep playing as Yuka. After 2 or 3 sessions, she'd hate to put her back on the shelf, and she also knows there's an element of gambling with D&D and like never bet what you're not willing to lose. So luckily, Sunny K sort of understands what's going on. You also may or may not see Sunny K in chat today. I know that she's gone and doing things, but she might drop in for a second. And yeah, so the other questions are more follow-up questions, which I will get back to in a little bit. For now, we have some really good instructions on what Sunny K does and doesn't want, and we can go brainstorming from there. So, moving on to the brainstorming, which is also something I like to call wall spaghetti. Can we save Yuka? So Yuka is currently poisoned. And this is when you guys get to see me try and type and speak at the same time. So Yuka is currently poisoned. And this poison is very specifically Death Dog poison, which I think I can pop open in this tab over here so that you guys can see what's going to happen to Yuka. Maybe not. Come on. Okay, or it's not going to show up. So basically what the Death Dog poison does is Death Dog poison will activate every 24 hours. And when it does so, it... Oh, thank you so much, Nerdy Sakura. I had no idea about the static. Let me see what I can do about that. I will be right back, yeah? Do about that. I will be right back, yeah? Okay, we might have to go back to this one. Okay. I think I might have gotten some of it figured out. This is definitely going to be worse audio, but hopefully the static is gone. If I can get a confirmation from chat before I continue, that'd be wonderful. Perhaps. Ah, still fuzz. Okay. Okay, this is really unfortunate. And unfortunately, this is an issue I've actually been having outside of my live stream now in the past week, so I'm wondering if it is a hardware thing. I can't do anything about it right now without fully stopping the stream and being gone for like 30 minutes, so I think I'm going to keep going as is for now,
and hope that I can figure it out before next time, if that's okay with you guys. But thank you guys for all the feedback. This is super helpful, and it tells me what to look for. So back over here. Oh, goodness gracious. Back over here. And I realized that the bestiary has finally loaded, but it has not limited itself at all. So let me see if I can scroll down to the bit that has death dogs. Ah, there it is. Okay. So the death dog is a creature. It is CR2. I want to very specifically state that it is CR2. Oh, sorry, it's CR1. It's even lower CR than I thought it was. It is CR1. And what it does is, if the target fails, if the target of an attack fails a DC 12 Constitution saving throw, it will become poisoned until the disease is cured. Every 24 hours, they must repeat a saving throw and then reducing their hit points by reducing their hit point maximum by 1d10. So this is the poison that is currently affecting Yuka. Yuka's poison, if you will. Yeah, so the headphones are actually not with picking up the audio. The headphones are solely a way for me to get feedback from that mic that I was using at first. I'm just gonna have to try and figure out what's going on there. So Yuka did take 11 damage, and that is so good shout out. Yuka took 11 damage. Yuka took 11 damage because in the virtual tabletop we're using, the death dog is a slight bit different and actually does 2d8 maximum HP damage. So that is the one that I was going off while we were playing live, and therefore that is the effect I used. So that's actually a good thing to write down here. The poison should only be doing 1d8, or 1d10, sorry. Which means Yuka could theoretically have, like, +1 max HP back. And I'm sure Yuka would love to have that back. So I will write that down and bring that up with their player later. Oh, and now you guys get to see why how my spelling works when I'm also trying to talk. So, poison's 1d10 every 24 hours. I have already changed this a bit in the game because I realized how brutal it was during the session. I'm not going to have the poison activate every 24 hours. I'm actually going to have the poison activate on every long rest. That's just a bit easier to track in-game. And I think that's going to be a little bit more gentle on Yuka if they figure out that they can avoid long rests. So, those are sort of some good things for me to know already. Yeah, max HP damage is incredibly brutal. I mentioned this to the player as well, that if they ever hit 0 HP, they do not get death saves. They just sort of die. And that's actually one of the things they were the most concerned about with this whole situation. The one thing they don't want for this character is for her to die, like, pitifully. And I think dying because your maximum HP hits 0 counts as pitiful. So this is also one of the reasons why I'm going through this right now, to try and figure out what are the other options. Looking at that, this is sort of the stuff we know for sure about the death dog poison. So the next bit is going to be, like, how can we counteract that? How can we save this character if this character is supposed to be saved? Now, the easy one is curing the poison. I say easy because it would get rid of the max HP damage. I've also already homebrewed that the moment the poison is cured, all of the max HP will return, because they're level 2s and I want to go easy on them. So that should be, if we can get to this point, Yuka will for sure survive. The question is then, how do we get to the point of curing the poison? So here's the thing, Eshkatan. While you're absolutely correct, in real life, like, resting would stave off poison, the way that this poison is phrased in rules is that it's every 24 hours. So, especially because in-game I then also brewed this to be a alchemical effect, I'm going to go off the sentiment of it's more magic than science. So it's actually waiting for the time where a victim is most vulnerable to take effect, which is why I've sort of switched it over to if you long rest, you get affected. Also, I should probably mention there are actually 2 players in the party that are affected by this poison. The reason I'm only talking about one of their deaths is because the other one was gone last session. So I did not have the poison take effect on that character. As soon as they come back, that character is then going to be in the hot seat. So we'll maybe also talk about that a little bit. However, I think by talking a lot about Yuka's situation, we'll also figure out a lot about the other character's situation, because curing the poison could be done the same way twice. So, past that, curing the poison would be a very efficient way. So, different ways that I know already off the top of my head to cure poison is you've got like lesser restoration. You've got, which is lesser restoration would be from druids and clerics, and maybe the occasional bard. I think it might be a specific subclass bard spell. I do not remember off the top of my head. But so druids and clerics should be able to fix this. Well, actually, mid-level druids and clerics. You would also then have any sort of antidote. If you can find an antidote, either find one or brew one. In addition to what I will call divine intervention. Now, this leads us 3 quite nice ways to try and go about saving this character. And I say we as if I'm going to help with this. I'm not going to help much with this. If my players want this character saved and want their character saved, this is mostly going to be up to them. And usually I would not be this hard on a group of new players. However, I know that 2 of them have played D&D with me before. I know that one of them has played Call of Cthulhu with me before. And I know that the last one at least knows who I am as a person. And so hopefully knows enough that I'm not coming at this with just malice. The other reason I'm being a little bit harder on my players this time, and especially with this poison effect, is because this first quest was meant to be the quest that shows them that their actions have consequences. So this was meant to show them that their actions have consequences, and as such, I really wanted to have something that had a permanent effect, hence why I picked the Death Dog, which had permanent max HP damage. Now, it went a little bit overboard, which is why I've decided that it's going to come back after they cure the poison, but this is also why I, as a DM, would be okay with a player death here, because it's meant to show them that sometimes running away and sometimes being more careful is the correct option. Or I guess is the better option. So other than that, antidotes, you could have something alchemical, whether that is brewed by a party member. There is a artificer in the party. Do I remember to spell Throgan's name? Yes, I do. There we go. Or whether there could be something in actually the area, because it was an old dilapidated alchemist manor, that maybe counteracts that poison. So that's 2 possibilities for an antidote that could be quite neat. Actually, go back up here. Other than that, if I let's see if I can pull any information out of the info about the creature itself. So, okay, we know that it's saliva, and we know that it causes the flesh to rot off the bone. So, honestly, amputation could be a valid way to solve this then. If it's rot spreading from the bite, I'd let them fix it with amputation. I guess we'll put this in antidote maybe. Or I'll just start a new one. Amputation. The one thing is, if they choose this method, I would not return the maximum HP immediately. I would make it an effect over time. just because I think that's going to be a little bit more interesting at that point. Perhaps. Ooh. So that could be another way to solve this. If I can get the heading to work. There we go, okay. So that could be another way to solve it. So that's pretty nice. Let's move on over to, actually let's go back up to Lesser Restoration really quickly. The party has 2 druids. The problem is neither of them are a high enough level yet to cast Lesser Restoration. So we would kind of need like a really quick level up in order for that to work. Or there is a town fairly close by, which would definitely have clerics in it that could be used in that sense. So, with those possibilities. Yes, so I don't actually remember where the bite was in game. I do know that the way that I've been describing it is it's as if there's ice flowing through flowing through her veins, causing sort of the loss of the max HP effect. But yeah, a bite on the torso would be a lot worse. I would still let them attempt some sort of amputation. Sort of in the vein of like you carve it out, you seal it with fire. But it would definitely be worse, like a worse sort of effect to have. Now, that's a really good question, Eshkatan. How do the poor and non-humanoids deal with this? And that's a really interesting question to me because this creature, in rules as written, is something that occurs naturally. So there should be something that lets just other people and other living creatures survive it. However, in the universe that I've created, I actually made this the result of a failed alchemical experiment. So it may not have solutions that are currently accessible in the ecosystem, just because it's not something that's usually in the ecosystem. And because it's alchemical in nature, it's usually only going to affect the upper class or those working near the upper class, and therefore probably able to afford treatment. And there's the good boy, or I guess the not so good boy. But yeah, so that's a really interesting thing to ask. And I think if I'd gone the route of this being a creature that was present in the environment, there could definitely be something along the lines of, there's that one rodent that's found in southwestern American deserts that basically can metabolize rattlesnake venom and the venom of a whole bunch of other creatures just because it has to or it will die. And I could definitely see Underdark creatures maybe having that sort of metabolism thing going on. Yeah, genuinely, the players could make it and monster hunt it if they wanted to. I would be really surprised if they end up doing that just from sort of how awful this has already hurt them. And also they sort of need to find how to make this creature again. They have the notes for how to make it, but it's going to be more of a case of can you find, 300 GP of diamonds. So moving from there, if we go down to sort of the last idea that I had for saving Yuka, there is the one about, and actually I've decided that I will add that thing about rodent Southwest US. Because that's actually a really interesting thing to add into game that I think, because Yuka is a druid, so if Yuka ends up bringing this up on her own, I would definitely reward that with there being a possibility for that. Aside from that, we have the option of Divine Intervention. Now, this is not usually an option I would give players at level 2, except for the fact that there are 2 druids and a cleric in this party. So if they can roll it, they can do it. In addition to that, we do actually have a case of Yuka has, at the end of last session, gone to her home, where she works as a steward for two deities called the Lady Verdant and the Lord Bastille. And these are basically flora and fauna deities that Yuka, a druid, has been in service to for her entire life. Now, I'm not going to give these two the ability to just snap their fingers and fix her. Because this entire combat was meant to be a your actions have consequences. So if their actions suddenly don't have consequences, I think that this whole thing has been just sort of bad play for nothing. And I do still want to stay true to that theme of what this was supposed to be. So from there are other options. And my dear player actually gave me a couple of ideas that I actually put down in the redacted interview. So if you are somebody who watches my D&D streams and you don't want to have any idea how we're going to fix this, please feel free to look away now. I will be back in non-redacted interview within 5 minutes. So you've got 3, 2, 1, and now we go here. So I had a redacted interview with Sunny K about possible things to do if Yuka does die. But one of them was Yuka's player, Sunny K, is a Fallout fan. And she actually suggested that if we were going to keep Yuka alive, doing something similar to the Bloody Shield from the Honest Hearts Fallout New Vegas DLC, which I thought was just a very funny thing to recommend. Basically, the way she explained Bloody Shield's perk to me, because I did not know off the top of my head what it was it is basically you get additional damage threshold, but you lose intelligence. So she really offered and was excited for a possible boon for Bane scenario, where she gets the ability for Yuka to live, but because of that she also has to take a penalty until they can cure the poison themselves. So I'm going to go back up to the non-redacted interview bit. Everyone else, you can come back. We're out of the spoiler territory. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And that is something that I wanted to prep here in case that is a thing she requests and a thing that she works out. So, going from there's a couple of different things we could do. So obviously the boon. Also, I've realized I've misspelled boon and just spelled bone. It's all right. So the boon is, of course, going to be a bone. No. So the boon would be, of course, Yuka is no longer affected by the poison. Now, I'm not going to say that Yuka is cured of the poison. I'm going to say that she's no longer affected by it. And the reason I'm using a difference here is because, again, I don't want this to be an insta-fix. I also don't want to permanently disadvantage one of my players. So as cool as it would be to have her cured and then just lose 5 intelligence points, I don't think that's going to be super helpful in the long run, especially if she wants to keep playing this character. So instead it would be a temporary boon for Bane that she could get rid of as soon as she cures the poison. So if we go by that, what are some possible banes that we could put on Yuka to make this a problem? Now, one that was recommended by Sunny K was a charisma debuff. And while I like it in theory, she's playing a very low charisma character already. And so the way she had described it was, well, Yuka's hurt, so she does the thing that cats do where they don't tell you they're hurt. And I like it, but her charisma is already very, very low, so I don't necessarily see that it's going to have an impact on how she would play otherwise. And I do want this to still feel like a consequence for the actions that were taken. I also very much do not want to ever dip her stats below 5 as a result of this, which I'm afraid in order to debuff her charisma, I might have to. I think her charisma is an 8 or a 9 right now, so it's already very low. So other things that I could do here was I had the concept of taking away a spell slot. Now, some players out there might absolutely hate me for this because spell slots are such a important resource. But honestly, I think that that's a good trade-off. Like, you're going to hurt for that spell slot. You're going to wish you had it. And I think that's going to give a real reason to her to actually pursue curing this poison as quickly as possible. The next question about if I take away a spell slot, what spell slot do I take away? I wouldn't take away her highest spell slot because I think she only gets one level 2 spell slot right now. I would need to just very quickly look up how druids work again. Classes. So what I might do is end up taking away her second highest spell slot. That way it is going to scale with the character if this poison sticks around longer. But it's also, Yuka doesn't have any second level spell slots right now. That's good to know. But it would also then sort of scale with Yuka if this poison is not taken care of quickly. Oh, I'm over the information from 5e tools. That's a very good thing to tell me. Thank you. So, other things that we can do. Yeah, 5e tools. My beloved. Okay, I'm going to have to figure out the 5e tool stuff later. That'll need to be another addition to my little world building stream setup. So we could take away a spell slot. I was thinking probably the second highest spell slot. Because again, I don't ever want to take away their highest spell slot in case they only get one of them. I played a warlock the last time I played in a game, so I'm very sensitive to my spell slots being taken away. I don't think it would be as much of an issue with a druid. Although it is worth noting that if I do this, it takes away 1/3 of Yuka's casting potential. Which is a lot for a druid. And especially when this is one of the druids that is going to be healing people. So that is a possible bane that I could offer my player. Now, past that, I think it would be a potential thing to do, because I mentioned I didn't want to take away from charisma because it's already so low. I could always do a stat debuff from a higher stat. And this is where I do not have Yuka's character sheet memorized. But I do believe that in true druid fashion, it's probably dexterity and wisdom that are the highest. So I could take away from one of those. I'm just going to write down intelligence as well, because I think Yuka might have a decent intelligence that I could debuff. That would actually take like an 11 down to a 9, which would be a big change. Now, of course, if I do this, if I debuff from wisdom, there's the big issue of it makes all of Yuka's stuff less effective, because she is a wisdom-based class. So that is something that I really need to remember and really need to think about if that's something I actually want to do. And I think this is going to depend on how high Yuka's wisdom actually is. If Yuka has a 16 in wisdom, or higher in wisdom, I think I'm going to give her this option. Because that way it's actually going to be a problem for her, but it's not going to be such a problem that it makes the character unplayable. So, that's 3 different possible debuffs. There was one other divine intervention thing that I was thinking about that I know I sort of offered to Sunny K. I don't know if she was going to take it. But I offered the ability of the Lady Verdant and the Lord Bestial keeping Yuka alive but Yuka not being able to be a player character anymore. And the in-universe sort of reasoning for this would be the Lady Verdant can only affect things inside the forest. Ooh, hang on. Yeah, hi Valkyrie. Welcome in. So in chat we now have actually one of my players who is going to be very invested in the outcome of this conversation. I do like the idea of a specific skill being affected. That's really neat. Thank you, chat, for that. Should I call you 1Q? Your name is very non-pronounceable. I'm gonna call you Q. So thank you, Q. That's a really good idea, having a skill be affected. That's also really interesting. What kind of skill would I have be affected in Yuka? Because I think she has Arcana, which could be an interesting thing, especially since it is the result of a alchemical experiment. Like, that could be a really interesting one to affect. I'd really need to check what's happening. Ooh, actually, you know what would be pretty brutal? It removes proficiency in a skill. And then it removes an additional proficiency every time the poison activates. That would be brutal, and that would also give a time crunch for them to fix it. That could be really interesting. That's a really good shout, Q. Thanks. So if we do something like that. Okay, so we were talking about that. Then I was going into, yeah, Yuka might end up not being a player character anymore. So if my player Sunny K goes with the idea of the Lord Verdant and the Lady Bastille keeping Yuka alive, I would make the rule that their magic can only work within the forest. So as long as the party stays within the forest, Yuka could theoretically move around a little bit, but the moment the party is going to try and leave the forest, basically she would be off of life support. This would be a huge detriment, and at that point of effectiveness, I would actually suggest her playing a different character, just in the meantime of trying to find a cure for Yuka, if that is something the party chooses to do. So I think as a DM, I'm leaning towards this one. Just because I think the Yuka not being able to be a PC for a little bit is the most true to what I wanted the combat to do, which was show consequences of actions. That said, I am still going to do the stuff sort of we talked about up here, where you can have a little bit of her max HP back. In case they do want to try and risk it and actually get to a cleric that could cure the poison. Yeah, disadvantage. I did actually decide that with the Death Dog poison, I was not going to give Yuka disadvantage on all her stuff, because I just felt like that was incredibly brutal. But yeah, now she's losing so much more the longer it goes on. But I do kind of like how it's getting worse as the poison progresses. I think that that's a really fun like roleplay thing to deal with. I also should probably put up here in the Death Dog stuff that you're not getting disadvantage from the poison condition. Yeah, I didn't actually give Yuka the poison condition for this, even though I maybe should have. It felt too severe with everything else going on. So, those are sort of the can we keep Yuka alive? Which goes into the next bit, which is less cool of, okay, what if Yuka dies? Now, keep in mind, this is a session 3 character death from an event that happened in session 1. So, brutal. Absolutely horrible. And I would not blame any of my players for feeling incredibly, like, scuffed about that. So that's actually something really interesting about the Death Dog Poison Eschaton, and I'm going to flip over to 5e Tools, and I realize that you guys can't see this. So if you give me... Actually, you can see it because it's lower on the page. So with the Death Dog, if creature is targeted, it has a DC 12 Constitution saving throw that it can try and make. And if it fails, it's poisoned until the disease is cured. Here's the thing. Every 24 hours, you can repeat the saving throw. However, succeeding on the saving throw does not cure the disease. It only prevents you from taking the max HP damage. So something I did with Yuka was I had the first saving throw auto-fail because you already failed the check from do you get poisoned? Which means theoretically Yuka could succeed on the Constitution saving throw this next fall, or this next evening, and be fine with it. It's still, here's the thing, 1d10, I think Yuka has 7 remaining hit points, 8 if we give her the +1 back. That's still a pretty big chance that Yuka is dead either today or the next day. Yeah, this Death Dog is absolutely brutal, and it is a challenge rating 1 monster. I don't know how this is a CR1 monster. Like, this feels like it should be worse. Also, remember, 2 of my players are affected by this. 2 of them are currently poisoned. The difference is one of them was not here last week, so I didn't hurt their character while they were gone. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. And this is why we're having the fun, okay, what if Yuka dies stream. DC 12. Failure. -1 D10 max HP. Auto fail first. Save. So, looking into the future, I'm going to be surprised if Yuka lives. So what do we do if Yuka dies? It's the first session, it's the 3rd session that Yuka would die in from a thing that happened first session. Oh, Throgan is in for a world of hurt. I actually ended up telling Throgan's player that Yuka might want to tell Throgan some things. I don't know if they've had that conversation yet out of game about what the poison does. So Throgan could just be walking in next session to a house on fire. We'll see what happens. So if Yuka dies, we have the big issue of we're missing a player character. So we need a new character. And in addition to that, we would probably need a temporary character. The way that I think this would end up happening is because long rests are generally taken at about our halfway point in the session. Yuka might end up dying halfway through a session, which would leave my player, Sunny K, without a character sheet, which really sucks when you're playing D&D. So I would want to definitely make a temporary character for Sunny K, just to give her something to do for the rest of a session before she can make her own character. And I do actually have an idea for that, which, depending on how much time is left on my stream after we sort of get done with this brainstorming bit, I might go over into making that character, because making character sheets can take just a fair amount of time sometimes. Death Dogs, I think chat already answered this question for you, but it's 40 foot, yeah. Yeah, Hugh was absolutely right. So these things can outrun a ton, but not everything. Welcome in, Angry Meatball. Happy to see you here. Funeral and the Reading of Character's Will is a very good one. We have already confirmed in-game that Yuka only writes into rib bones, so that could be a really interesting thing to try and read for the other players. I will add Funeral, though, because that is funny. Funeral session 3. I will say, however, doing a funeral also still leaves the same issue of the player whose character just died can't do anything. Which that's one of the big things I want to try and avoid. I do want to still give my player the ability to do something in game if their character dies. Now, if Yuka does die, I have been told that my player doesn't want Yuka to die in a pitiful way. So that is something that I'm going to have to really think about, especially because this is a poison that is affecting them. How I want to go about talking about talking about basically how the death occurs. And I think that's going to be something that's down to more like RPDM like wording and prose than anything else. So I do want to make sure that I give Yuka like the ability to affect things herself here. And I think actually the best way to maybe do this would be give Sunny K, the player, if I can type, the ability to, like full, like give her the full spotlight to let her tell Yuka's story the way she wants to. And I've played with Sunny K before, so I know that that is something that she is fully capable of doing and would actually jump at the chance to do if it was offered to her. So I think this, if Yuka does end up dying from the poison, giving Sunny K permission to do it herself is going to be the best thing that I as a DM can do to make sure that my players still feel safe at my table, which is one of the big things that I always try and look for. Yeah. So I think that moves us down then into the next steps, which we can, do those now. So the first next thing, I guess, is we need to make a choice on saving Yuka and a choice on killing Yuka. Which sounds just absolutely horrible. So luckily we have already made a choice on killing Yuka, which is giving her player the spotlight. To tell that death the way she wants to. As far as saving Yuka goes, this is something that I actually talked with Yuka's player a bit. I talked with Yuka's player about, because again, she couldn't make it today and I wanted to make sure that this was something she also had input in. So during the big interview I had with my player, we ended up talking about a little bit about my philosophies on character death. And one of the things that we did talk about very explicitly was that my player said that she wanted to do something, and would it be possible? And what I ended up saying was that if you want that to happen as a player, you as a player will need to pursue it in game. I'm not going to prevent it. I would allow it to happen. However, you have to start the initiative. You have to be the one to start that sort of series of quests to get it to happen. And I did get the affirmative. I'm good with that from my player. So that is something that I feel very, very confident about instilling as a can we save Yuka. So as far as saving Yuka goes, I will end up doing, if my player can give me a reason why Yuka should live, Yuka can live. There will probably be rules attached, just because it is a game of chance and gambling, so that makes a bit more sense. I will allow it to be an optional save. That said, I might not approve the first thing that they say if it's completely not in line with the way that magic works in this world. Angry Meatball does bring up a really good idea. Angry Meatball brings up a really good idea, which is about a last request. I do love the idea of turning a last request into a quest for the party. I do really, really like that. That's quite fun. The reason I laughed was because Valkyrie down there decided to put Yuka in a jar and save it for later. This is, again, one of my players who's been in a previous campaign with me, and they, as players, put a lot of things in jars I wish had not been in jars. Then again, I gave them magical jars, so I don't know what I was expecting at the time. So if Yuka is killed, last requests. Adventure. I do like that quite a lot. So we will add that there as well. That's also really interesting. I would need to send a message to my player and see what Yuka's last request would be. Which could also be a really cool thing for them to think about as well. So other than that, I mentioned earlier that I would want to build a temporary character out for my player, just to prevent them from being in a session that they can't play in. So I think that's actually the bit that we're going to move over to next. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a quick 5 to 10 minute break because I need to set up a very quick way into my virtual tabletop. And then I will be back with the rest of you guys. I'm just going to check chat one more time before I end up popping you over to break. Canopet Quest is really funny, actually. That's good. Oh, that's a really good thing. Angry Meatball in chat has a really good idea of a last will and testament that you actually have to make when you make your character. I can see that working out really, really well, especially for more death-heavy games like Curse of Strahd. That's a great idea. So, I'm going to be gone for about 5 to 10 minutes. Feel free to grab some water, grab a snack while I'm gone, and I will see you back here shortly.
Mayhaps, mayhaps, mayhaps. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. Okay, welcome back, first of all. I am here. It was a little bit less than 5 minutes, but I saw a chat message that made me genuinely want to just drop in at this exact moment. So here's the very funny thing, Meatball. Here's the very, very, very funny thing about who would be listening to the last will and testament of an adventurer. There's a guy in the campaign. Or rather, there's a guy in this universe. He's not appeared in campaign yet. There's a guy in this world who his entire thing is making unsavory deals. And, oh, I've been covered up by my own VTT. This is fine. But there's a guy who, what he does is he's just a little scamp. He's a warlock who really, really wants to be a patron. And he likes to think that he is someone special. And I think if Yuka were to try and make a deal with anyone in her last dying moments that is not explicitly the Lord Bestial and Lady Verdant, Yuka would end up reaching out to this person. If Yuka just sort of sent a prayer out into the universe, this guy would answer. Now, the problem with that is this guy is horrible. My sister knows that she's horrible, or my sister knows that this guy is horrible and would not do that. Oh, yeah. A death dog would absolutely have a good death toll. That's fully fair. And May is telling me that I should not bring this Deals Warlock into this. That's really funny you should mention this. Because this Deals Warlock is known for making very, like, unsavory business practices. And takes the place of a Fae in a lot of sort of universe stuff, so. It could be quite an interesting one to have around. I don't think it's necessarily going to be the right one for this situation. Just knowing my character, or knowing my players and what they like and don't like. So, welcome back. We are post-break. I ended up booting up my VTT. You can sort of see it in the background there. You probably saw me fiddling with it as well. Let us build a backup character, or at least a temporary backup character for my player. Now, this is something that I did actually talk with my player about a little bit, so she sort of knows what's coming, at least in the slightest, and spoke a little bit about what, what's the word I'm looking for? Spoke a little bit about what type of character she would want to play. So, to start off with that, I need to remember how the actual player side of my VTT works. And level up this character. Which I love, because I've fully forgotten how to do that. I hope it's this button. Yeah, it's this button, okay. So if I level up this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful character, we're just sort of using all of the base D&D rulebooks, along with one specific homebrew that I actually commissioned from a friend. Unfortunately, that homebrew is also the homebrew that Yuka is, so if Yuka dies, that homebrew sort of dies as well, which is really unfortunate. But for this character, I was thinking of a bard. For this backup character, we were thinking about a bard, and very specifically, we were debating between two different bard colleges, which was the College of Lore and the College of Tragedy, which I see is actually not in my virtual tabletop, and therefore we will not be using. So let me just add College of Lore here very quickly. So, let's just do a take. Yeah, we'll just do a take average for hit point increase. And then let's think about what kind of skill proficiencies this guy would have. So for May in chat, because I know that you're there in chat, I'm going to start talking about Vassal. So depending on how much you want to know or not know about Vassal, feel free to like look away. But Vassal is basically a Bachelor of Medicine. He is the type of guy who believes that he is smarter than everyone else. And no matter what it is, like he is the guy that you should be listening to. That said, he also doesn't have any money. He is living solely off the sponsorships of other people and is just kind of a nightmare in general. So because he is a Bachelor of Medicine, I'm definitely going to give him proficiency in medicine. I think that makes a lot of sense. Here's the problem with Vassal. Vassal needs to have a high charisma because he is a bard. He's also a horrible, horrible person who is not very charismatic. So I'm going to rely very, very heavily on my player here to sort of play this out accurately in game. The other things that I could think of being important for Vassal is something like Arcana. In game, they've already found a paper he wrote about the pitfalls of necromancy. So it would make sense if he has some sort of proficiency in the arcane arts. And then he gets one more. I think I'll give him sleight of hand because he is a surgeon. And I think sleight of hand would make a lot of sense for somebody who works with their hands in that very fine motor skills way. From that, we have a couple of other options. So we get tool proficiencies for this guy. And I want more than just instruments, please. I actually don't really want to give him any instruments. I'll give him a viol. I'll give him a viol. And then, okay, we've got to think about what type of kit he has. I think Diplomat's pack is the right pick for him. I don't think he's going to have an Entertainer's pack. Again, this is a guy who functions as a doctor more than anything else, not as an entertainer, not as any sort of bard or troubadour. I think the Diplomat's pack is actually a very good one for him with like the ink, the oil, everything like that. I will actually not give him a lute. I will give him a viol to match his proficiency. Ooh. I got tabbed out there. I will give him a viol to match his proficiency that we took in the last step. He gets leather armor and a dagger. What other weapon could I end up giving this guy? Because I think a rapier makes sense from how he tries to present himself, but I don't know if that's the right one for who he is. I think it might be even more efficient to give him like a dart or something similar. I could give him a ranged weapon. Right now he doesn't have any good ranged options other than his dagger. Let's do that, I think. So let's give him a ranged weapon. Let's give him a crossbow. Can I give him a light? I have to give him a light crossbow. Let's give him a light crossbow. And then go to the next one. Okay, so there we have the very base thing. Now we need to pick spells for this guy. Now, again, this guy is a Bachelor of Medicine, so I want to pick as many sort of healing spells as I can get, and as few, like, traditional bard spells. That said, I am immediately picking up Vicious Mockery, because this guy is horrible to everyone he meets, and therefore I think Vicious Mockery makes a lot of sense. So we will absolutely give him Vicious Mockery. Let's see what other... I think Mending would make a lot of sense. It physically repairs a magic item or construct. I've also allowed my players in past to use Mending to like stitch up wounds. Not in a way that heals them, but rather in a way that just prevents further damage. Ooh, Thunderclap could be for CPR stuff. I do like that a lot. Let's see. Let's see Thunderclap really quick here. I think True Strike could also be a very interesting one. Thunderous sound that could be heard up to 100 foot away. Constitution saving throw or take thunder damage. Ooh, that's quite interesting as well because that is every creature in range. I love that. Good shout, May. I hope you're ready for the consequences of that. Oh, and those are the 2 cantrips he gets. Perfect. Actually, let's check out True Strike. I want to see True Strike again. On your next turn, you gain advantage on your first attack roll, provided the spell hasn't ended. I do like True Strike. Is it an action? It's an action. Oh, I don't like True Strike anymore. Yeah, we'll do these 2. We'll do Thunderclap and Vicious Mockery. So, moving on from there, I think it's going to give me another pop-up to pick spells. No, it's not. Okay. So, I need to add a race to this guy. I need to add a background to this guy. Now, I already know that this is a half-elf. Vassal was sort of in the nebulous area of, is he an elf, is he not an elf? And I think the answer is going to be he is a half-elf. Now, I want to... He already gets a charisma boost. Which is really, really good. I think I want to boost his intelligence as well, because that's what medicine comes from. And then... maybe I boost the dexterity. Or maybe... I think I'll boost the intelligence again. Oh, never mind. Only get... Oh, wait. Max 1 point per score. Oh. Icky. Okay, I'll boost... I think I'll boost Constitution. I'm going to boost his Constitution instead of his Dexterity. I don't see this guy being super dexterous other than the sleight of hand. So I'm going to boost his Constitution instead and give him just a little bit more survivability. Q, that's really good. Yeah, they're just terrified back alive by the sound. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Angry Meatball. Have a nice night and everything. But yeah, so then half-elves are medium. We know this already. He gets 2 more skill proficiencies because he's a half-elf, and half-elves are kind of broken. So, let's see what else we can give him. I think Persuasion makes sense. I don't think he's a very charismatic person, but I'm going to regret giving a bard a Persuasion boost. I should give the bard the Persuasion boost. No, I'm going to give the bard the Intimidation boost. Again, he sort of lives off sponsorships from other people, so I'm trying to think through that and like what skill he would have from his background. I don't want to give him Persuasion just because I don't think he tries to be nice to people so much as he tries to force people by etiquette to give him things, which is why I'm giving him the Intimidation instead. Now, another skill proficiency I could give this guy. I think either History or Insight would be a really interesting one to give him. Like, to give him a Wisdom skill. I don't want to give him Nature. I don't think I want to give him Nature. I think I'm going to give him History, especially with being a half-elf. He's going to know just a little bit more than maybe the average Joe from stories he's heard growing up or stories he's heard from parents. He then also gets a language because half-elves. He already gets Common and Elvish, so we don't need to worry about those two. I think what I'm going to give him is... Let's see, he was with a Dragonborn for a while, so he might know Draconic. He's currently living in a Dwarvish city, so he might know Dwarvish. No. This is a guy that took, like, Latin in college and now says random Latin phrases to be fancy. I'm giving this man Celestial. I think that makes sense. And I think he misuses a lot of Celestial. It's just the vibe he's given off. Yep, he gets Fey Ancestry as well, which means he will have, sleep. No, he doesn't need to sleep. He can be in a meditative trance, and magic can't put him to sleep, which is really nice. Deception is, of course, a very, very... Like, Deception and Survival are very good ones as well. Those are quite fun. I also like the Knowledge Nobility that I see in chat as well. These are very good skill options. I don't think Survival makes sense because I can't limit the Survival skill to just fundraising. Knowledge of Nobility is not, unfortunately, a skill, though I can absolutely boost some sort of... I could give him Insight, actually. I think Insight might make a lot of sense, especially from the fundraising. Maybe I switch it to that. We'll do that. Can I do that from here? I'd like to remove your proficiency in History, please. It seems like I cannot switch the proficiencies once I have selected them. This is incredibly unfortunate. Here we go, okay. Alright, switched the history proficiency over to insight. Because I think, oh my goodness, don't give him expertise in history. There we go. I've switched to insight because I think that's going to fit the best with knowledge, nobility, survival of fundraising, and I give money. Oh yeah, his med school time was absolutely horrible. Like, he doesn't sleep, but that's just normal med school. Like, that's just normal med student things. He's weird because, like, look at this guy. He's horrible. Okay, so we still need to give him a background. Let me go and open up all the backgrounds I have to see what we can pick out for him. Additional backgrounds, please. There we go. Okay, so we have Vassal. Now, there's a whole... I think Charlatan could be a really, really funny one. Since it's, yes, I promise I am competent, now please give money. Although, false identity, I don't think is the right, like, feature for this guy. Like, I feel like the feature is a bit wrong for Vassal. Other things that I could see... Ooh, let's look at Guild Artisan, actually. Guild Artisan might be interesting here. So you get tools, which I could make surgeon's tools, or herbalism kit. You get another language, a letter of introduction, which could be his diploma. And then you also get guild membership, which you must pay 5 GP per month to the guild. They will provide you with lodging and food and pay for your funeral. I think Guild Artisan could be a neat one. I think I'm liking that a little bit more than I'm liking Charlatan. And then... oh, there's some in here that even I've not heard of. So I'm going to take a look at the... I'll look at the rewarded background. So let's see, the rewarded background, you were having a difficult life before your destiny suddenly changed through a miraculous turn of good fortune. I don't think that's it. I don't think that's him. I genuinely don't think that that is Vassal. I think he's sort of the universe's little punching bag, and he takes that out on other people. Herbalism kit because low-key drug dealer is very funny. And actually, I don't think it's wrong. I mean, he could just be giving people narcotics. Q also has a really funny thing over there of his name isn't actually Vassal, that's his false identity. These are very good. These are very good ideas. I do think Herbalism Kit is the one that I would end up giving him, and I'll leave that up to my player to decide why he has it. Okay, feature, Fortune's Favor. You gain the Lucky, Magic Initiate, or Skilled feat. Oh no. Okay. It represents the transformation that changed your life. Additionally, okay, yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. That's an interesting background. That's not the one I'm choosing for Vassal. There was also... ooh. He's not a retainer. He's not responsible enough to be a retainer. There's also the ruined background I'm seeing here, which I do not know this one. So he had everything and then he lost it all. Lost his reputation. Something happened. That makes a lot of sense. What is the feature from this one? Still standing. Okay, so the equipment that you get is... okay, you get some skill proficiencies, you get a language, and then you get some other stuff. You get a gaming set for sure. Okay. Less cool, less interesting than a tool set, but I could see it. And then you get a feat. You can either have the alert, skilled, or tough feat. And it reflects how you've dealt with a terrible loss. Interesting, interesting, interesting. I don't dislike that, actually. Alright, help me out, chat. Do you guys think the ruined background works better, or do you guys think the guild artisan background works better? Because I could see like plot reasons for it being either of them. The guild artisan would give the herbalism kit, which I think is really neat. Ruined wouldn't necessarily give applicable skills, but it would have a really cool like flavor thing to it, especially since this is a temporary backup character. What are you guys feeling? Ooh, failed merchant. Let's look at failed merchant. Good shout, Q. Do I have this one in here? No, okay, so let me just switch over so that you guys can see my 5e tools. All right, and then let's find failed merchant, you said. All right, let's see. You get investigation and persuasion. You gain an artisan tool, which is really nice. That's something I was looking for. Artisan's tools, merchant scale. All right, feature, supply chain. You retain connections with wholesaler suppliers and other merchants and entrepreneurs. I like that a lot. Q, that's a really good shout. This is almost what I was talking about to a T. All right, let's see if I can do that one then. That's quite fun. What is this? What book is this from? Acquisitions Incorporated. Okay. All right, let's see if I can very, very quickly like import Acquisitions Incorporated. To add that here. Hopefully it's in this list somewhere. Well, I hope it's in this list somewhere. Okay, maybe it's in the SRD. It might be in the SRD. Filter. Yeah, it's in SRD. There it is. All right, and then and there's failed merchant. Perfect. So that does give our bard persuasion, which luckily is something I didn't give them already. All right, where did that go? Failed merchant. Let's just add that on in here. Yes, please use the importer. Yeah. Yep, they get the supply chain feature, which I'm going to make sure my player knows is for their previous sponsors. And then, oh, we can customize their skill selection. Look at that. Okay, do we want to customize their skill selection? I could give this guy expertise in medicine. I think that actually might be a good thing to do. And what was the other one they get? They get investigation and persuasion. Maybe I give investigation. Maybe I do that. I'll do that. I'll do that. Oh yeah, it's a lot of I know a guy, which is actually, Escherton, I love that you bring this up. I know a guy is one of my favorite things to do. Oh, I just realized you guys can't see the thing, Lamau. There we go. I know a guy is actually one of my favorite things to do at the table just because it can bring up so much fun, like improv play, and it means that I as a DM don't have to prep NPCs for it, which I already do so many other things. Not having to worry about like 1 or 2 NPCs is really useful to me. I would like to customize my language and tool selection because I want to give this guy another absurd language, and I think I'm actually going to give this guy Druidic. And I'm not going to explain to you guys why I'm giving him Druidic, because you'll have to watch our session if you want to know why I'm giving him Druidic. I'm not going to do roll for personality traits. I just don't personally like doing them, and I trust my player to figure that out themselves. Did I not get to pick their tool? I want to pick their tool, please. But then I wanted to give them, I said herbalist kit was the thing that I was going to give them. Which I've just realized is not an option for artisan's tools, which is stupid because I'm going to make it one. Okay. I'm just going to hit X here. I'm going to confirm this. Yes, I have not made all available choices. I am aware of this. I want to give them a proficiency, if I can do that. And this is where, you know, I actually just picked up this VTT only to play this game. This is the first game I've ever done in it. So I'm still trying to get a bit used to the VTT system. Oh, yeah, I know a guy, but they need something is really, really good. I think it's great. The idea of him having like a modern day EpiPen is also really funny to me. Like, is it a health potion in an EpiPen, or is it just like straight up epinephrine? Both are funny. Both are good. I don't know how to give this guy another proficiency, but I do know that I can give this guy a new inventory item. I would like to give him I don't want to create a new item. I would like to add an existing item, please. I can do this somehow. I think it's in the SRD content. Yeah, item and spells. There it is. Okay. Please open up this. Please open Vasile Vitale back up. And then I would like to find the herbalism kit. Yeah. Oh, it is a tool. Why does it not let me pick it as a proficiency? Let me pick it as a proficiency. And then nothing else there. So with that, I'm also going to just write a quick note in here that he has proficiency in. I said I'd like to write a quick note in here that he has proficiency in the herbalism kit. I am going to give him proficiency in the herbalism kit because that comes from the background. It looks like I'm not allowed to write this, which is quite unfortunate. So, there is first level vassal. Now, my players are currently at level 2, so we will level them up again very, very quickly. Which hopefully should let us choose the College of Lore. We will take average again. Why did it not let me pick spells? Come on, guys. Come on. I know you've got spells. I know we can do this. There it is. Okay, so it does say he's College of Lore. That's good. It gives Bardic Inspiration. It gives Song of Rest. It gives Spellcasting. Perfect. That's all good. Oh, I forgot that he gets Jack of all trades. I love playing bards. Bards at my DM table, I always just have like this, oh no, they're going to do something silly. Which granted is also why I'm making a bard for a temporary character. Because I feel like it's a fun thing to have. Yeah, you get Jack of all trade as a passive. Okay, so I think the next thing for me to do here is start filling out spells on this guy. So what kind of spells do I want to give him? First of all, let me check really quickly how the bard actually works and how many spells they get at level 2. Okay, they can cast 3 first level spells. They know 5 spells total. So let's go and let's start picking out spells for the bard. If I can very quickly find those spells. Is it in here? It is not in there. Where are my spells? Oh, they're up there. All right. Oh, here's additional spells as well. Okay. Aha, we have enough spells. So, for a bard, let's see. What do I want to give this guy? So I want to give him definitely healing spells because he is a doctor above everything else. And past that, I'm not entirely sure. So let's first of all come on down here to, I think Cure Wounds makes a bit more sense for him. Let's see. 1d8 plus spell mod, or healing word is that 1d4 for healing word? I know it's not a lot. Let's see, healing word is 1d4, yeah, plus ability mod, or plus spellcasting mod. Let's I think let's throw in healing word so he's got a range spell option. Let's see, what other things would be fun to... Ooh, inflict wounds could be nice. Do bards get inflict wounds? I completely forget what's available to bards and what's not available to bards. Let's find out. Utilities. Oh, please give me the spells. Please give me a list of bard spells. I am asking you very kindly, both to my VTT and to 5e tools. One of you will have the solution for me. Yeah, here we go. Okay. VTT, or 5e tools. I think 5e tools has given me the solution here. Give me a second. No, 5e tools has not given me the solution. They're lying to me. So we will just keep going in the VTT. Let's see. What can I do here? I'd like to add spells. I don't want to make a new spell. I just want to add existing spells. Well, let's just go back up here. Okay, so we have a healing spell now. They get to know 4 more spells, so I want to give them some sort of either damage spell or like status effect spell to give them an offensive option. I think I might also want to give them a out of game option. Ooh, sleep and unseen servant could both be very interesting. Let's see. Sleep, I think, could be really interesting, especially with the surgery angle. Flavor it as anesthetic. I will have to double check if some of these spells are available to bards, because I cannot remember off the top of my head. Unseen Servant, I know I also was sort of interested in. I think Unseen Servant could be a very interesting one for this character who doesn't want to do things himself. I don't know if I'm going to keep Unseen Servant on this character. First of all, I don't remember if bards can have it. Second of all, I don't know if I want to waste a Spells Unknown slot with Unseen Servant, you know? So, let's see what else we can get. I think something to boost AC would be quite interesting. Again, I think having another healing spell would be interesting. I might just give him Cure Wounds to give him Cure Wounds. I think I am actually going to give him Cure Wounds. Ooh, False Life is also a very interesting spell. Let's actually go down and look at that one. So False Life, if I'm remembering correctly, you get temporary hit points from it. Now, if you'll remember, getting temporary hit points could maybe help Yuka in this scenario. Like, it would not stop her from dying if she hit 0 max HP. Ooh, Unseen. Unseen could be a really interesting one as well. No, that's fair. I didn't realize it was a ritual spell. That does help a lot. But False Life could be a really interesting one because it would definitely help Yuka and Throgan, the other one affected by the Death Dog poison. So I might throw False Life on here instead of a different healing spell. I will say I don't actually think bards are supposed to have False Life. And I'm going to just start sort of playing fast and loose with the rules here. Let's see what else we've got. I will leave Unseen Servant on. Let's see. Detect Poison and Disease. I'm just going to immediately sort of throw this one on here. I know that that's a cleric spell. I don't know if this is a valid spell for bards. But I think Detect Poison and Disease could be especially funny with the current state of the campaign. And spoilers for the campaign ahead. There's a plague incoming. So having this spell would actually be very, very useful for the party. Sorry, May, if you're still watching. You know this. You were in the session 0 where I talked about this. And so I think that one could be neat. Detect Magic is always a very classic spell. I don't necessarily think it's going to be super important here. Ooh, Command could have been a very funny one. Command could have been a very, very funny one. It would explain how he got all of his sponsorships despite being just a horrible, horrible person. Oh, false life is self. Oh no. Yeah, Q. I did think that false life was not a bard spell, but I also thought it was going to be funny, so I was going to give it to them. But no, if it's self, it doesn't really matter. No, that's fair. Good shout. Thank you, chat, for catching me before I do things that are stupid. Also, it says self here. I just can't read. Perfect. All right. Let's see that. I might put command on then, because command could be a very, very fun one. Mayhaps. Yeah, May, it is a necromancy spell. We're gonna pretend that. Okay, here's a secret about Vassal. He's a massive hypocrite. Just because he has opinions that necromancy is bad doesn't mean he doesn't use necromancy. No, but it's all right. Does it show which class it's for in details? That's a good shout. Let's figure out if that does. It says what spell school it is. I'm not seeing what class it's for, unfortunately. Unless you guys are seeing something that I'm not. I can't always just tab out to check. Like, that is a thing that I'm very much able to do. I'm just not doing it. Mostly because currently 5e Tools is taking slightly too long to load for my level of impatience. Command is a spell available to clerics and paladins. And glamour bards, which is not what we are. Oh wait, hang on. It says one of the optional variant classes it is available for is bards. So it might have been added in a later book to the bards. I'm giving it to the bard. You can't stop me. I'm giving it to the bard. Ah, there's the link. Perfect. I am copying the link. And it's also give you guys access to what I'm seeing as well. That would probably help a little bit. Oh, that's chat. Hang on. Give me a second. I want to grab this link. All right. There we go. There's the spells. Thank you so much, Q. You're pulling weight in chat today. Yeah, Mage Hand is a cantrip. I also decided that, or it may actually give me a good shout with Thunderclap as a spell. So I'm going with that as the secondary cantrip. So let's go over here and then let's filter by, can you just filter by Bard? Yeah, I can filter by Bard. Let's go. Okay. And then I also want to filter by level 1 before I just start getting overwhelmed by the amount of spells. There we go. Okay. Okay, command is available to bards, so I think I might give them command. Unseen Servant. Ooh, Hideous Laughter is always a very, very fun spell, but I don't think it works for this character. Oh, Silvery Barbs. I completely forgot about Silvery Barbs. You turn its uncertainty into encouragement for another creature. You can then choose a different creature. Ooh, Silvery Barbs is quite fun. Silvery Barbs is also, yeah, it's instantaneous. Is this a reaction or is this a, yeah, it's a reaction. Do I want to give one of my players access to Silvery Barbs? This is the next question. I think I might. Identify could be quite interesting. That's another ritual spell. It also gives you assistance with magic items, which is quite fun. Yeah, let's maybe change around some of this a bit. Oh, did it remove the Bard filter? Oh, thank you so much. I did not notice. No, the Bard filter's still on it. I still see it there. I think it's still on. Yeah, I can see it here. The Bard filter should still be on. I think we're good. Distort value. Distort value. I actually, one of my players almost took it at character creation. We have an artificer who. That's really funny. Yeah, thesis distort value. That's good. I think because I think Throgan might have taken distort value as part of his scam. So we have an artificer who's a scam artist. I think he might have taken distort value during character creation. I'm not entirely sure. So I also don't necessarily want to give this like backup character spells that other characters also have, unless it's a classic like healing word. I am really thinking about Silvery Barbs. I think I might give him Silvery Barbs. If I can find it in my silly little spell list. I have once again remembered that you guys cannot see what I am doing. There you go. Let's see. Silvery Barbs. It is not in my list for some reason. Okay. Let us import it into our list, shall we? It's from Strixhaven, that's why I didn't import any of the magic stuff. Because why would I import the Magic the Gathering stuff? I say this as somebody who's played Magic the Gathering. Open importer. Yeah, I know. Where is Strixhaven? It's also just... no. Don't import more. Your memory can't handle it. Don't do it. Oh, hang on. I'm importing a background. That's not what I want to do. I want to import a spell. Open importer. And then have it load all of the spells. Let's add in Strixhaven. Save. And then... oh, I think I can search now, because it should be in the list. Yeah, there it is. Let's just bring in Silvery Barb, shall we? Beautiful. And now we should have... somewhere in here. Oh, it's not sorted. Amazing. Well, we have Silvery Barbs. Right, let's head on back over to that spell list so we can look at that. Yeah, Silvery Barbs is a very, very fun spell. So basically you can just make a character reroll something if they succeed. The problem is, I've played with DMs before that hate that it is a level 1 spell. And they actually end up homebrewing it so that it's a higher level spell, so that it can't be used quite as much. I don't know how I feel about that, just because I've never had it in a game. So Vassal having Silvery Barbs could very much be something that happens for one session and then I just get rid of it entirely. We'll see how that ends up working and how that ends up sort of functioning. But yeah, so I think that actually gives us a good start on this guy. Heroism is always a very interesting spell. I don't necessarily... ooh, it does give you temporary hit points, actually. It does give you temporary hit points, which is very fun. I could give this guy a temporary hit point giving spell. I might do that. So right now, okay, so I'll just... I think you guys can see screen at this point. But you cannot see screen at this point. There we go. What he has right now is he has Healing Word, Sleep, Unseen Servant, Detect Poison and Disease, and Silvery Barbs. I am definitely going to keep Detect Poison and Disease and Silvery Barbs. And I'm going to keep either Healing Word or Cure Wounds. I think I might leave him with Healing Word because I gave him the ranged attack option. So it leaves 2 possible spells for us to play around with. We have Unseen Servant, which I do like, and Escherton actually pointed out earlier, was a ritual spell, which is really nice to have on this guy. So the question then is, do we want to keep Sleep in here, which is a very utility spell, or do we want to switch it for something like Heroism, which is more combat focused? And I think, just talking out loud, I've decided I want to keep it at Sleep. At the very least, I want to keep it with something that is useful out of combat. So unless I can find something else that has that out of combat usefulness, I think I'm going to keep it as sleep. Distort value was a good shout. I do quite like that. I just, again, I don't want to give it to this guy because I think my other player has it. Dissonant Whispers is combat, so I'm not going to use that one. Disguise Self could be a very interesting one. I don't know if it would be super helpful for this character specifically. Though it would probably be nice to have some sort of Disguise Self in the party. Or Detect Magic. Detect Magic is also one that could be very, very useful to have. Detect Magic is also just a very good utility spell in general. What do you guys think, chat? Do you think we should keep it as sleep, or do we think we should keep it, or do you think we should move this spell to something else? Because, like, there's always some very, very good ones. Oh, yeah. Color spray, that's fun. Is this the spell that killed my character? I cannot believe. I finally figured it out after all these years. Okay. Sorry, I had a character that once died to like 8d10 damage. I figured it out. It's color spray. Because it didn't affect the unconscious guy. You think Detect Magic. Detect Magic is quite a nice one. May, unfortunately, I don't know what you mean by have 4. But no, okay, so you think Detect Magic. I could do Detect Magic. That's easy enough to do. Aldazim's Horrible Writing. Or Horrible Wilting, sorry. That's an 8th level necromancy spell. Wow. Anyways. Oh, there is also the 8 spell. What level is 8 again? Is that a level 3? It's a level 2. Okay. Doesn't matter at this point then. Let's throw in Detect Magic and throw out Sleep. Let's throw in Detect Magic. And let's get rid of Sleep, because you only get to know 5 spells. Alright, there we go. And there is Vassil's spells all figured out. Which means we have one last thing to do before this becomes a playable character. And that is fix his stats. Right now he has just sort of base 10s on everything, which is not how it's going to be if he's played. So let me move Vassil out of the way and start rolling for stats. I would like to roll. Pretty please. Yes, please delete this spell. I would like to roll 46. And then I'm going to basically roll for stats, drop the lowest d6, and go from there. So first roll, we have a 4, a 5, a 6, and a 2. So dropping the 2, that is going to be 15. That's a very good first stat for Vassil. In fact, I think I might just go ahead and pop that in his intelligence. So 15 base plus 1 becomes 16. Let's go. We go to the next one. And this is going to be 4 4s. That will be a 12. Again, very good score for Vassil. This man is doing quite well. I think I'll put this in... Maybe I put this in Wisdom for now. Or in Dex. I'll put this in Dex for now. We can always move it later. But yeah, chat, how's it going? How's it going? Oh wait, Disguise Self. Yeah, Disguise Self, we were thinking about that one. I don't necessarily think that it fits the character a lot to give him Disguise Self, you know? Oh, Fig has Detect Magic. Oh, Fig has Detect Magic. Okay. So I'm going to take away his Detect Magic then. This is true. He is a half-elf, so Detect Magic would make travel safer. Oh, Vassil, what happened to you? Come back here. Come back here, my sweet child. I just realized you guys can't see anything that I'm doing because I forgot to tab back into the VTT. No, you're right. You're absolutely correct, Q. Disguise Self could be a really helpful one for him because he is a half-elf. I completely forgot about that. Let me shoot back into here and find Disguise Self again. Okay, so Fig has Detect Magic, so I'm going to remove Detect Magic from this guy. Yeah, we can permanently remove Detect Magic. Disguise Self would be quite nice. Now, is Disguise Self touch or is it self? Okay, Disguise Self is self. That makes sense. Yeah, I realized. Sorry, thank you, Q, for shouting at me. I did figure it out when I tapped in to see you guys. Yeah, Disguise Self could definitely be a really fun thing. Okay, Sleep or Disguise Self? Let's pop in Disguise Self. Let's take chat's advice here. There it is. Also, I'm very curious about this Divine Favor spell. Your weapon attacks deal an extra 1d4 radiant damage. That's quite fun. I might have to put that on my cleric. So, that then fixes us his spells. We just switched out Detect Magic for Disguise Self. Good shot, Meg. Good shot, Q. Thank you both. Back over to his stats, which is what we were doing. Now, just to prove to you guys in chat, like, I did roll dice. And, like, we dropped the 2 here, so this became a 15. We ended up dropping a 4 here. We ended up dropping a 4 here, so this one became 12. We are slowly rolling for his stats. I ended up putting the 15 into his intelligence. He already had a +1 to intelligence, so that became a +3. I've put the 12 in dexterity for now. I'd love to have something higher there, but that very much depends on how these rolls end up going. So I'm just going to make sure that you guys can see again. Yeah, okay, you guys can see. Perfect. So, going on to his next roll for stats. 5, 4, 4, 1, that'll be a 13. We can absolutely go with a 13. I will actually put that in Constitution, I think, because we already have a +1 sitting in Constitution. And that makes it just a nice, even, round number. That is not 1,141, that is far too much. When I make characters, this is just like a little thing I do, but I try and always keep even numbers here at character creation, because that makes it easier for me to get better bonuses. And then if I do end up with something that has like an odd number, I will try and put it in something like intelligence, where I can pick up an alert feat or like a half feat to boost that stat up. So moving from there, we have our next stat, which is a 2 is the lowest dice, 2, 4, 2, 4, so that's going to be a 10. That's not bad at all. Let's pop that in his strength, maybe? Oh, he's going to be wisdom dump, isn't he? Yeah, he's going to be wisdom dump. We'll put that in his strength for now. He gets 2 more rolls. Let's hope they're good ones. 4, 6, 2, 1. That's going to be a 12. We can put that into his Constitution or his Charisma. Let's put that into his Charisma. That'll make his Charisma a 14 in total. It's not his highest stat, but for a bard at level 2, 14 is not bad. And then we will see what this last roll will be, and if it goes in his wisdom, or if we switch something out. I'm surprised that nothing has been below 10 yet. Like, that's really, really nice for a character. That is 6, 6, 5, 3. So that's going to be a 17. That is huge. Okay. Well, we're not putting the 17 in wisdom. I'll tell you that right now. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start moving these around a little bit. I think I'm going to keep the... Okay, so if I'm remembering correctly, we had a 15. We had a 10. We had a 12. We had a 13. We have a 15. And we had a 17. No, we didn't have a 15. I already wrote down the 15. What was the last one? It was another 12. We had another 12. Okay. I think these are the rolls we ended up with. Because this was a 13. This was a 12. This was a 15. That was a 10. Yeah, these, okay, so these are the numbers we have. We have a 15, a 10, a 12, a 13, a 12, and a 17. We can, first of all, these are really, really good stats, and I don't know if they're actually going to be balanced to my other players. I know, he's absolutely jacked. Sunny won't want to change back. The problem is, if Sunny plays as this guy, she has to play as this guy. Like, that's the big downside here. So I do remember that I think I had a +5 average for my other players, so I'm gonna have to recalculate this really quickly. A 15 is a +2.5, +3.5, +4, +5, +8.5. That's massive. Okay, this guy is absolutely jacked, and we might have to decrease his stats a little bit. I might drop that 17 to a 16. Because this is before any sort of bone. Wait, no. Average was an 8. Yeah, I'm going to drop the 17 to a 16 and then leave it like that. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay. This is actually really easy then. I'm going to put the 16 in charisma. I'm going to leave the 15 in intelligence. I'm going to put... Should I put the 10 in wisdom or the 10 in strength? I'll put the 10 in wisdom. I'll put the 12 in strength. Not 21, 12. I will put a 13 in constitution, and I will put a 12 in dexterity. And then I think I'll leave it like this. He's a bit wimpy for a half martial, but I don't think that's going to be a bad thing. Okay, yeah, Q, that's a good question. How does counting work? So the way that I'm counting is I want to try and make sure that all of my my player characters are at roughly the same effectiveness level, at least as far as stats go. So the way that I calculate this is, if I just turn off the editing, you will see that each of these stats gives a modifier up here. When I'm counting, what I'm doing is I'm basically counting that modifier. So for every 2 points above 10, you get a +1. For every 2 points below 10, you get a -1. And then when I'm counting raw scores, like I was counting down here, I give a half point for any odd number. So if we would calculate Vassal's stats right now, he would have +1 from strength, +1 from dex, +2 from con, +3 from int, and +3 from charisma, giving him a total, very rough calculation of 10. Now, please remember this includes his racial bonuses. When I was counting it previously, it did not include racial bonuses. This is how I kind of try and balance characters to each other in this game. I have some other ways that I've done that in the past before, which is making characters use point buy, giving characters the ability to roll for stats, but everyone has to use the same rolls. This one gives it a little bit more, each person can roll for their own stats, but I also, as a DM, can make sure that, like, no single character is super ineffective or super effective compared to the other characters. Great question, Q. Thank you for making me explain that. But yeah. I've just realized that I've been on stream now for about 2 hours, which is a bit longer than I usually do my solo streams. Luckily, we're about to the end here, so I'll probably end up logging off here pretty soon. I think that's everything for Vassal now. Oh, I do want to heal him, if that is possible, because he should have full HP when he comes into the game. He gets 2 hit dice. He should also have spell slots, which are trackable in the spell area. Yep, this works out well. His spell save DC is 13, which is not bad at all for a level 2 character. Like, all in all, I think Vassal's going to be quite good. Of course, he also has the Fey Ancestry ability, which is really nice. He has Jack of all trades, which is going to be absolutely just terrifying on some of his stuff. I think I did end up giving him proficiency on, or not proficiency, but expertise on medicine. So, like, that's going to be absolutely bonkers. Oh, it didn't count his it didn't count his expertise for some reason. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, he should have expertise on this. Give me 1 second. Not half proficient. I want expertise. There we go. There we go. Yeah, this is really good. I mean, just look at some of these stats. Like, +5 to investigation, +5 to intimidation. Like, his medicine, which is his dump stat, is already at +4. Like, this is quite good. These are quite good stats. I'm a bit scared. Yeah. Well, that's good. The one thing I have to do is just hand over, like, player permissions to my dearest Sunny K. And then that should be good. How do I do this? Oh, I can do this somewhere. Vassal, configure ownership. There we go. And then give Sunny K ownership permissions over vassal. There we go. Well, that is, I think, everything that I wanted to do today. So, that's the wrong screen. Let's go back over here. I also realized you can't hear me. Hang on. I'm coming. There we go. Okay, I think I'm back. Yeah, so that's everything I have for today. We do, in fact, have another healer, yeah. You guys get healers and only healers. This was the choice you made when you started the game. What is the difference I would think is still balanced? Q, that's a really good question. For this campaign, I ended up going with keeping you all at the same exact number of that, like, plus-minus calculation. Generally, I'd say that anything within +1 to +2 is fine. +3, depending on how swingy you want your party members to be, could be doable. Honestly, I don't think it's bad if your party members are super mismatched. I think it's only a problem if your players aren't having fun. So just do what your table feels like is best, you know? But yeah, look, you're all gonna die, somebody's gonna cast Healing Word, and then you guys are gonna be alive, and that's all that matters. So, that is all from me for today. We will not be having a stream the next 2 Sundays. I'm actually out of town, so we will be back together as a full table for like a whole session on May 26th at 18 Amsterdam time, 11 Central time. In between then, I don't know if I'm actually going to be going live. It's really going to depend on my own energy levels between those sort of out of town weeks. If there is anything, you can catch any updates from me on Patreon or Ko-fi, or feel free to hit the like follow button here on Twitch, and hopefully you will get like notifications when I do go live. Other than that, please feel free to check out my YouTube channel. I post all of the VODs on there as well if you do end up missing one of my live streams. So, with all of that being said, let me see if I can find a person for you guys to raid right now. Let's see if anyone is live that I know. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything immediately on Twitch. So, let us see instead if I can find something else. Otherwise, I'm just gonna sort of have to hang up. Yeah, Q, thank you so much for joining in chat. I do really enjoy having people like actually talking to me in chat because it makes it feel like, you know, it's a big old collaborative thing, which is how I like to play D&D anyways. Unfortunately, I cannot find any small streamers for you guys to raid, so instead I'm going to just sort of leave you here and let you guys go on for the rest of your day, and yeah. So, that's all from me for today. I hope that all of your games are good, I hope all of your rolls are well, and please feel free to tune back in on May 26th, so you can catch us play our next game once more with feeling. Alright, see y'all!